Alright, peace and greetings YouTubers. So Marc Jacobs, he's catching a bit of flack at the moment based on some of the statements that he said in regards to the criticism he received about his latest fashion show. Long story short, he was revealing his latest fashion line, and a lot of people noticed that all of the models were white women, and white women that had like fake dreadlocks that were put into their head to, I guess, capture the essence of the style that he was trying to create or trying to put out there. And a lot of people were saying, well, you know what, normally dreadlocks are something that's associated with, you know, people that belong to the black culture. Maybe you should have a few black models to also walk that fashion show because it would be a little bit more fitting. And in addition, it would be easier if you went ahead and had people who already naturally had dreadlocks. So some people are saying, you know, if you're going to go and use that style, maybe you should have the people who normally represent that style actually be on the runway. And then this was the response that he gave to all of the naysayers. And it reads, "To all who cry cultural appropriation or whatever nonsense about any race or skin color wearing their hair in any particular style or manner, funny how you don't criticize women of color for straightening their hair. I respect and am inspired by people and how they look. I don't see color or race. I see my people. I'm sorry to read that so many people are so narrow-minded. Love is the answer. Appreciation of all and inspiration from anywhere is a beautiful thing. Think about it." So here's my 2 cents on that entire situation. It's annoying when people always go out of the way to pull the whole colorblind tag every time something goes down. Here's the thing about being colorblind. Colorblind is a punk out move because, one, all of you see color. There's not a single person in this world who does not see color. This whole world operates by color, race, and social structure based on race. That's just the reality of what it is. So when you always tell people you don't see color, what you're saying is you see that they don't exist in the skin that they're in. You see that they don't exist within their element. What you're saying is you only want to see them in an element that keeps you comfortable or keeps you in a position where you don't have to be accountable for the actions of people within your demographic who may do something to another group of people, and in reality you benefit from their actions. So people always tend to do that. And for me, when somebody tells me they don't see color with me, I'm insulted because, one, I like being black, okay? I embrace every element of black. Like, everything that is important to me, I would expect that somebody would respect that and recognize it if I want that to be recognized. The same way if a person is tall, that most likely they want people to admire their height. If somebody has slanted eyes, they want people to embrace the slanted eyes. If you're a woman, you want people to embrace the fact that you're a woman because you're proud to be a woman. The same thing if you're a man. So if you're black or if you're Asian or if you're whatever you are, you want people to see that from you. You want people to see you as you are, the same way you see yourself, not the way that they want to see you. So I hate when people say that because it's such a cop-out move. But what I found so funny is, if you were so colorblind, why is it that the next statement that you bring up is you want to bash black women because now all of a sudden you think they're appropriating a European culture because they decide to straighten their hair? So we have to get to that part. So let's go on to the whole element of hair. The first thing that I think people need to understand is, one, Europeans do not own the element of what straight hair is. Every ethnic group represented in the world has straight hair to some aspect. When you talk about black women, and this pisses me off because I feel like black women are always attacked about everything. Black women are attacked so much, it makes no sense. Their whole existence is under criticism about all they gotta do is wake up, somebody got a problem with it. But when you talk about anybody within the African diaspora, anybody of African descent, one, everybody in that group belongs to one of the most diverse ethnic groups in the world when it comes to phenotypes, when it comes to hair, skin, lips, eye color, all of that. That is one demographic that is just so culturally diverse when it comes to looks that we are represented in all of that. There are black women all around the world who have naturally blonde hair. There are black women all around the world who have straight, long hair like Pocahontas, and it blows in the... It does all that mess. And the problem is, so many people only see black women through a specific lens that's presented through them, through the eyes of American media, that they can't fathom the idea that black women come in many different shapes, sizes, and have all kind of different aspects and attributes that, you know, that I guess cultivate their beauty and everything like that. And so he's under the impression that black women all have nappy hair, and when they go and they perm their hair to have it straighter, they're trying to copy the European woman. And I'm kind of like, well, if that's the case, maybe the European woman might want to hold back, because if we want to talk about straight hair, scientifically, Asian women have the straightest hair in the world. So maybe that might be the group you might want to associate us with appropriating, if that's how we're going to do things. But I think that's some bull. And the issue when it comes to appropriation is people use the definition incorrectly all the time. Here's the thing. You can't appropriate somebody's culture if that's also a part of your culture. Alright, so there's too many people who are under the assumption that all black women have nappy hair. And the issue that other people take with this whole thing is, a lot of the things that black individuals do are always criticized. A lot of the hairstyles and the things that we do are always criticized, especially black women in hairstyles. Braids are always looked down upon. Dreadlocks are looked down upon. Natural hair is looked down upon. And then when white people go and do it, all of a sudden, oh, it's bohemian chic. Because, y'all love to take something and rename it to make it comfortable for you guys. It just makes you think of when Rihanna came out with the Work song. And I remember reading some news article, and the journalist didn't know what genre to put the song in. The little work, work, work. So they were like, oh, and Rihanna comes back with her new Tropical House song. I said, Tropical House? What? Tropical House? Because if you understand what house music is basically labeled based on the BPM, the beats per minute of a song. That's what dictates what is a house song. So when you listen to something like Work, that is no kind of house anything because it's a slow groove. But because Rihanna is exotic, because that's what people like to associate people who are of color but not from the United States. If they're from an island, all of a sudden they're exotic. So they said, well, call it Tropical House. So that's kind of the things that go on. But I just found it so interesting. So going back to what I was saying, black women are always ridiculed for things that they do, but other groups can do it, and all of a sudden it's something that's praised. You look at Zendaya. She was on the red carpet that one time, and she had the little faux locks and the dreadlocks, and the people were like, oh, it looks like her hair looks like it smells like weed, she looks dirty, this, that, and the third. Then someone else goes and does the exact same thing, and it's just, oh goodness, Miley Cyrus at the VMAs had dreadlocks. It was just such a fashion statement. It's so bold. And so that's the issue that takes place, and that's why so many people of color or black people are always complaining about the things that go down. And the way that he went and did that whole statement, he was trying to push it off as a whole we are the world, I love everybody thing, but it was so condescending and so standoffish to anybody who was offended at the initial action that he did no justice in trying to answer the criticism. He made things worse because, one, it's disrespectful to kind of call, to all the naysayers and the people with their cultural appropriation nonsense. It's not nonsense. Everything that we're calling a lot of you guys out on, we have evidence and proof. We can back up our claims, back up our statements with lots of factual evidence. Because when it comes to the appropriation of what people have done to black people and the things that people have stolen from us culturally, there are so many levels and elements that it becomes this giant pyramid that's just, it breaks into many different layers, and then the money's involved in it. It goes on and on and on. And so it's a slap in the face to try to tell us that there's not an issue going on when we recognize it. And so going back to what I was saying about the black women and the hair, this is how bad things are. I don't know if you guys have been following the story about that's an all-girls school in South Africa. And now, mind you, South Africa is a majority black population. I think the population is about 10% white, 90% black, and some other groups and stuff are in there mixed under that 90% bubble. And within the school, the dress code, and this is I think it's a high school, the dress code means that hair has to be kept tight and knit or whatever, some crap like that. And so what they were trying to do was any black girl at that school who had natural hair, they had to either perm their hair or cut it off, because technically the natural hair is an issue. And I don't think people understand what that is saying to a person when you're telling them that the hair that grows out of their head on its own is a problem. And so that is kind of where we're going with this whole thing. So when you talk about the models on the runway, if you honestly didn't see color, then every time you do a fashion show, I should see a plethora of all kinds of women represented and all kinds of men represented on the fashion show. But in this specific one, it was only white women. So you know what you saw. So like I said, it's a BS when y'all talk about y'all don't see color. But going back to the South Africa situation, I don't think people understand the seriousness of what that means, because some people were defending the school like, oh yeah, well, those dreadlocks, they're not attractive. Or, oh, when they wear natural stuff, it's not attractive, this, that, and the third. And I don't think people recognize the effort that goes into maintaining your hair. And when you're talking about having natural hair, growing natural hair and doing that is a process. And you just can't go and perm it or put some kind of texturizer or something in it, because then that hair will never be in its original state. And you either have to cut it all off or let it grow all the way out and cut off where the perm is, because your hair texture automatically changes. Like here's the thing about black hair. Our hair follicles are like an oval shape and they grow in like a coil. That's why our hair can defy gravity. You can pull our hair and it'll stay up. That's the other thing. Look how long this crap is. Our hair doesn't fall. So you can have this really long hair and then you can let it stay there and then you can put it back. There's all kind of little magic tricks and stuff we can do with our hair that people who have naturally straight hair can't always do. And so when you go and you put something like a perm in it or an S-curl, because hey, back in 8th grade, I was the king of the S-curl. I could go and put it in the S-curl crap and go out there coming out thinking I look like Genuine when I go to lunch break or whatever. But when you do that, the texture of your hair has changed permanently. That's why most black women, if black women go and take a shower, their hair doesn't stick to their neck. It doesn't stick to their face. Why? Because their hair bounces back. it stays in those coils or whatever it is if they have natural hair and they haven't permed it. Some women with perms, I think it still works. But in comparison, you go look at how white women do their stuff. You watch some white women in the pool, they get out the pool, hair's all in the face, stuck here, stuck there, and it's because the follicles of their hair are shaped different. The follicles of their hair are more round and everything like that. So because it's so round, it's also heavy and it drops down, because people don't also understand that black women or people of African descent also have the most sensitive hair when it comes to chemicals. Even though we have a thicker hair most of the time, our hair is extremely sensitive to chemicals. And so that's why a lot of people's hair breaks off all the time and different things like that, depending on what you put in it, in comparison to white women who normally don't have to put a whole lot in their hair. So it's a big conversation just about phenotypes and hair follicles and genetics and stuff like that. And so people don't understand how deep all this stuff goes. So when you try to tell black women that their hair isn't appropriate for work, or their hair isn't this or their hair isn't that, what are you actually saying? You're saying that they don't exist in a realm that makes you comfortable, so you have to alter how you want them to look. And this is no disrespect to any black woman who decides to perm her hair. You do what you do, whatever makes you feel good about yourself, that's great, you go for it. But I just think Marc Jacobs is a little out of the loop on this one. Here's the thing. I know racism is a touchy subject, and white people have decided that if they always pull the colorblind card, because there's a bunch of colorblind disciples all over the world. They're under the assumption that if they just pull the colorblind thing, they don't have to be a part of that race conversation. Sorry, whether you want to be or not, you're in it. It's just the way things are. And until people recognize that culturally there's a bunch of issues in this country, that's just the way it's going to be. And the thing is, when you talk about race in this country, race is also associated with culture, because all of the races in this specific country were segregated until about 40 years ago. There were different cultures that were developed within those racial pockets. So when you talk about you don't see color, that means you don't see color, you don't see my culture, you don't see any of that. You just want to see me in a realm that keeps you comfortable. And so people are afraid of that. But in this country, race and culture go hand in hand. So you can't embrace a culture and try to cut out the race, because that's what's been going on when we talk about appropriation. But anyway, share your 2 cents. I'm out. I don't think trolls will really be on this video, so I ain't got nothing to say about y'all. But anyway, yeah, if there's anybody else that you think tried it this week, let's just go ahead and call them out, because I might as well just have a series of the You Tried It people, because the Ryan Lochte was one. Marc Jacobs, you are now a part of the You Tried It committee. And yeah, if y'all got anybody else to nominate, just let me know. All right, I'm out.